Hi, I'm Chrissy.
Hi, I'm Lucy and we're at Clerkenwell Design Week.
So, Clerkenwell Design Week is a 3 day design festival held in Clerkenwell in London. And it's a celebration of creatives and design around the borough. So it's really exciting. There's lots of installations and exhibitions, and a lot of creative design studios around the area open up their doors. So it's really nice. You can just kind of wander around. So me and Lucy spent a couple of days at the show, and today we're just going to talk you through a couple of highlights from some of the most interesting installations and exhibitions around the festival. So the first installation was called Royal Approval by Kinetic Design. And Kinetic Design specialise in foldable and kinetic structures that explore light, space and movement. So what they created for Clerkenwell Design Week was this huge oval origami structure, which was lightweight and foldable. And they installed this at St John's Gate, which is where the first performances of some of Shakespeare's most famous works were seen.
So the structure itself was made out of this really lightweight metal, and the design actually mentioned to us that it only takes 30 minutes to deconstruct the installation into a flat pack. So it kind of brings up this idea of a new way of constructing installations and how they can be easily transported from one location to another.
So this is a really interesting new way of looking at art, and we can really see how designers are starting to think about how their pieces interact with the space around them. And this is something that we saw in Milan Design Week as well, this contrast between old and new, and designers using installations to enhance historic spaces and change the way we actually see things. So the structure itself was designed to mirror an Elizabethan ruffled neckline. So it was a really nice homage to the royal wedding. It was very well timed, and also to Elizabethan fashion. So the next pop-up is by Timorous Beasties, and it's their Craig End collection by Brinton's. So Timorous Beasties call upon their fascination with the brutal beauty of the natural world, and they designed a gorgeous range of carpets with Brinton's. And this is a style that we saw a lot of in Milan as well. There's a really big focus on progressive nature and this kind of wabi-sabi style.
For the carpets, they drew influence from sand dunes, stone moss, and aerial views of landscapes. So it's been really nice to see this kind of more organic inspired pattern direction coming through. We've seen a lot of it on the catwalks in our upcoming print directions, such as Mineral Dissolve, and they kind of focus on these natural irregularities and these really beautiful kind of textures.
So a really exciting open house was Territory Studio. Territory Studio are a visual effects company that work with motion design and digital experiences, but rather than just replicating everything digitally, their process includes making and manipulating objects by hand, photographing them, and then enhancing them on screen. So they've got a really exciting and unique and creative way of working. The studio are most famous for their visual effects in films such as Blade Runner 2049, and Guardians of the Galaxy. And what they did for Clerkenwell was an interactive project that invited local commercial and residential communities to share their ideas about what the district might look like in 30 years' time.
So as you're walking into the studio, there were lots of posters up on the wall which all ask questions. So the questions were like, which industry would you like to make a comeback, and which Clerkenwell creative would you like to celebrate? So it was interesting to see that they were kind of asking more practical questions rather than talking about like big technological advances. And there was actually a question to do with robotics, and surprisingly, a lot of people were against it or reacted quite negatively towards it, as opposed to kind of more smart and practical ideas such as responsive signage on roads and also building block farms.
It was really fun actually because you walked in and they had these big posters up and everyone was coming in from the street. Kind of, they were giving out pens and stickers so you could draw on their walls and answer all the questions. So that was really fun and interactive. A really nice way of approaching the subject, I think.
One prominent installation around Clerkenwell was Pipeline by Lou Coryell Randall, And Pipeline was a really exciting new approach to street furniture. And there were a number of these dotted around the borough. And they were like these continuous line sort of pipe structures that formed both bike racks and benches.
Bright pink as well, so they stood out as you were walking around the borough. So this validates the idea of encouraging communal living as well, and this is something that we saw a lot of at Milan Design Week. Mini Living did an installation that explored this idea, and it's just a really nice way of injecting the city with more functional pieces of art, and it's something that we've been seeing popping up around various cities across the world. So the last installation was a bit of an Instagram favourite, and this was a piece of sky by Skyframe. So Skyframe were actually a window and sliding door company, and they collaborated with Stephen Hellman for Clerkenwell Design Week, and they built a hexagonal box and installed it in the middle of a park, and this was filled with mirrored surfaces and therapeutic coloured lighting that represented all the colours of Earth that you can see from space.
So within the box they were playing the real sound of Earth recorded by NASA, and they also had some overlaid quotes from the astronauts as well. So it kind of gave you a view from the sky and orbit down to Earth, which in a way encouraged the user to kind of disconnect when they were in the box and sort of be lost in the moment.
And it did actually feel like you had kind of stepped out of ordinary life, and it actually made you feel quite dizzy, like you really were orbiting Earth when you were stood in the box.
Overall, it was a really exciting 3 days in London.
And it was really nice to see how a lot of the trends that we've already been talking about so far this year are continuing to develop.